Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultra marathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. Welcome back to the One More Hour podcast, your insider's guide to backyard ultras, last runner standing races, timed events, and the mindset of going one more. One of the more common questions that you hear runners talking about when curious about backyard ultras and last runner standing races is, what's the longest long run I should do before my race? How do you actually train for a race when you don't actually know how far you're going to run? And my answer is, it depends. If you have worked with a coach, it's probably going to be, it depends. If you ask a coach, I hope that the answer is, it depends. But I also think that if you're asking, what should my longest long run be, you're asking the wrong question. If I gave 10 runners the exact same, let's just say 30-mile long run, every one of them would take something different away from that long run, right? They would experience it differently because it depends on your fitness, it depends on your training, it depends on your goals. Everyone is at a different spot with their fueling, with their mindset, with their strength, with their endurance. Everyone needs to work on something different. So if I give everyone the same long run, everyone is going to walk away with something different. Different lessons, different things that went well, different things that need to be worked on, and probably different points of frustration. So again, the universal answer when it comes to running is, it depends. And the point of training, especially when it comes to backyard ultras and figuring out long runs for your training, isn't to accumulate miles. It's the point of the entire point of training is to accumulate lessons, right? It's to figure out what you need to work on, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and how can you apply that going forward to benefit you on race day. Backyard ultras aren't won because you survived one gigantic long run. It's not simply a test of endurance. They're won because you practiced all these little things, all these little skills that allow you to run one more yard over and over and over again. It's a test of patience. It's a test of problem solving, fueling, pacing, sleep management, mental resilience, adaptability, your willingness to keep showing up every hour. Did I mention problem solving? That's a big one. Today's episode is all about different types of long runs that you could include in your training for a backyard ultra and why each one kind of teaches you something different. Now, I'm not saying you should do all of these. We're going to go over 10 or 11 and I'm going to mention a few others just to kind of highlight them. You need to figure out what you need to train for, what lessons you need to learn, and how you can apply that information to help you on race day. All right, so long run number one is the confidence builder. It is the traditional easy effort, your aerobic long run, right? There's nothing fancy about it. There's no special challenge. There's no overnight component. There's no race day simulation. It's just putting in the work. Do not underestimate how important these long runs are. And please do not lose this episode based on my first long run here. I think a lot of you are going to enjoy some of the challenges and long runs that I have in the rest of this episode, but this one is overlooked and underestimated. So please make sure that you are getting in your easy effort long runs. They are necessary for everyone. This is your bread and butter run. And although as your fitness increases, as your experience level increases, as you do more races, more long runs, yes, you're going to have different long runs incorporated into there, but that doesn't mean that you just don't do easy effort long runs anymore. Confidence is not built through those motivational quotes, right? It's built through evidence. It's built through action. You need a strong base of endurance. This is where every runner starts, and this is where every runner comes back to. Again, as you gain fitness, endurance, experience, years of training, you can add in long run workouts, you can add in challenges, you can add in long runs for backyard ultra training that we're going to talk about. But every training plan should still contain some easy effort long runs. Every long run completed becomes another vote in favor of your ability, right? It's another piece of evidence that says, I can do hard things. The goal here is not to suffer. The goal is competence. It is to build time on feet. It is to build that aerobic engine. You should finish these runs feeling strong enough that if someone told you to keep going for another hour, you probably could. Like, yes, you might need to grab some more fuel and hydration, but you should not be so depleted at this point that you cannot run another mile. And again, these runs are teaching aerobic endurance, patience, efficient pacing. They're really focused on that durability, the musculoskeletal system, trust in your training, and again, building that aerobic base, allowing your body to adapt to your training, to your nutrition. Fuel and hydration, focusing on carbs, sodium, and fluid intake are extremely important. We're going to talk about those later for a specific fueling-based long run. Do not overlook these things. They are the basics, and we always have to go back to the basics. One other thing about easy effort long runs when we're talking about ultra running is about time on feet, right? Time on feet is what we want with ultra training. Walking is beneficial in ultra running. Walking is extremely beneficial in the backyard. In fact, it's necessary in the backyard in your training. You have to practice intentional walking. You have to practice that walk run transition. If you only focus on running in your training, when you start the actual pacing strategy in a backyard, in a last person standing race, it's going to feel very awkward. And this is where I see a lot of runners kind of hit their wall per se in a physical way in the backyard because they have not practiced that transition and their body's not used to it. So they get very stiff when they start walking and when they try to start running again. Backyard success comes from being comfortable moving easily for a very long time. These long runs lay that foundation. So ask yourself, did I start too fast? Did I stay disciplined? Did I finish stronger than when I started? Okay, just think about these things. How was your nutrition during easy effort long runs? If you had GI problems, we need to figure that out. If you were extremely tired, why? Did you get enough sleep last night or the week leading up to your long run? What were your energy levels like? How much did you eat throughout the week? Figure out these things so that your long runs, your easy effort long runs feel strong. All right, so long run number 2 is maybe one of the most valuable runs on the list because, again, backyard ultras don't end due to strictly fitness, right? They end because you stopped eating, your stomach revolted, you became so calorie deficient that everything starts to fall apart. GI distress is one of the top 2 reasons for why runners in ultramarathons DNF. Blisters and foot problems are the other. I have an entire episode. It's number 18 with Dr. Tanya Olson. Listen to it. Listen to all that she has to say about taking care of your feet before and during your ultramarathon. But when it comes to nutrition, I think before we even talk about dedicating entire long runs to fueling, which you should be fueling every single long run, we need to talk about kind of what comes before that, right? So with that being said, there's an entire episode on nutrition with Kayla Fitzgerald. She is a registered dietitian who puts together race day nutrition plans for ultramarathoners. It is number 4. So go listen to that. She has a lot of information packed into the episode. I think long run nutrition starts before the long run. Fuel your easy runs if you have stomach problems or if you're increasing your carb, sodium, and or fluid intake. A short, easy run is less stressful on the body and the guts. It can help you get comfortable with your fueling changes before you throw it into a 6-hour backyard stimulation. If something goes wrong on this short, easy run, you don't feel as bad about stopping short, running to the bathroom, than if you were maybe in a 6-hour backyard simulation. Okay? When it comes to long runs focused on fueling, I don't want you to be focused on pace or distance. Focus on overall time and focus on nailing your nutrition. Maybe you need to experiment with different carb sources. Maybe you need to experiment with different drink mixes. Maybe you need to experiment with more variety and including real food into your nutrition. Are you practicing with liquid calories? Are you shooting for a higher carb intake? Maybe you're kind of figuring out how to actually get the sodium in that I need based on my individual sweat rate. But do not try all these things at once, okay? Because you won't know what worked and what didn't work if you implement 5 different things at once, which is why it can be beneficial to practice on shorter runs and then on some of your shorter long runs before you really get into the thick of training. Then once you have those things figured out, once you've really nailed down some nutrition, then you can incorporate it into a backyard simulation or into a longer long run, such as 3 hours, 4 hours, and so forth. Practice eating while moving. Practice eating when you're not hungry. Practice eating when you're tired. Like, think about the emotions, the feelings that you're going to go through in your backyard, and practice those things in training. Practice your backyard ultra transitions with fueling. Grab what you need, eat what you're going to eat at camp, sit down, go through that whole transition process, time it, and then take what you're going to eat out on the course. Practice it all and figure out what needs work. Do you need to rearrange stuff? Some people go as far as actually having their setup, their camp setup, their chair, their table, their drawer system, whatever it is, so that they can actually go through the motions and figure out how long it's actually going to take. And does it make more sense to have your tailwind over here or your fuel set up here so that it's within reach? Like, figure these things out. Now, once you get a handle on training your guts and on your nutrition during long runs, and you've incorporated variety and all of these things, try to make things go wrong. Practice recovering from mistakes. Like, intentionally miss a fueling window and figure out how your body's going to respond to it. Eat something that sounds terrible and learn what happens. Or eat something that sounds really good and figure out if anything happens. Like extremely cheesy quesadillas, pizza. Like, think about things that if you saw them at an aid station and be like, oh yes, I am eating that. Experiment before race day actually comes around. Especially if you know what's going to, if the race is offering their own aid station and if they've listed what's going to be at the aid station. Push the limits during training, because race day is a terrible place to discover that your stomach hates the plan, right? And then plan B and plan C and plan D. Like, you should have lots of backup plans for nutrition, and a lot of it just comes to learning how to problem solve on the go. So there is a caveat though. If you intend to run, let's say, for 36 hours in your backyard ultra, that's hard to figure out what's going to go wrong and when, right? You're not going to go out and run for 36 hours before your backyard ultra. Races are some of the best teachers. They put you in positions that you cannot replicate in training. And the race owes you nothing, right? Anything can happen on race day. So do your best in training to figure out as much as possible, and then take what you learned during your race to improve next time. Because more likely than not, you're going to do more than one backyard ultra, because you're going to say, I could have done X, Y, and Z to go so much further, or to not experience GI problems, or this is not what I wanted my camp setup to look like, or I wanted to have a crew because I was by myself. Whatever it is, you're going to have reasons to do another backyard ultra. So just briefly, some questions to ask after your race when it comes to nutrition is, what food sounded appealing late in the run? Like, what food sounded good 18 hours in? What food sounded good at night? Did I change my nutrition at night? What became impossible to eat? Why? Was it the texture? Was it flavor? Was it because you had sugar mouth? Palate fatigue? Did you need more variety? Did you have sores in your mouth? What was it? Like, why was a certain food impossible to eat, or all food impossible to eat? What changes did you make in the race that led to your problems? Did you underfuel? Did you overfuel? Did you mix up your fueling plan? Did you see some good food at the aid station and start incorporating that? But also, you just added that on top of your nutrition plan. So you were overloaded with sodium or carbs, or you weren't taking in enough water. Think of all those things. Remember, there's a root cause. And then what would you change? What do you need to practice in training to figure out for your next race? So again, episode 4 is with Kayla Fitzgerald. She's a registered dietitian who works with ultra runners, and she talks all about ultra running nutrition. So go check it out. So let's get into the fun long runs, the challenges, the simulations, okay? So number 3 is the backyard simulation. We cannot talk about long runs without talking about a race day simulation. They are so important in training in general, but I think ultra running provides a unique perspective when it comes to training camps and race day simulations. So this is where the sport starts becoming specific. Running is only part of a backyard ultra, right? The break matters too. The time in between when you cross the finish line for that hour and you're back at camp with your crew and you're grabbing what you need, doing what you need to do before you start the next hour, the next yard, or the next loop, whatever format race you're running. That matters. So much can happen in that time, right? Many runners never practice the transitions. They train the running, but not the race. So set up a mini backyard. Run loops, practice the pacing. A lot of runners also never practice intentional walking or the pace strategy. You're not running the entire thing. Come back every hour, practice the pacing, use a chair, practice refilling your bottles, eating quickly, changing clothes, using the bathroom, have your gear organized, practice all those things. What are you going to do when you hear 3 whistles, 2 whistles, 1 whistle? You may discover that your 5-minute routine actually takes 12 minutes. You may discover that you sit down and you think you're organized and you're actually not. You're like all over the place. Grabbing one thing, oh, I don't need that yet. Like, get organized, create a routine. You may discover that sitting down too long makes your legs lock up. If you're coming in with 20 minutes, which we have lots of episodes where we talk about pacing, but if you're coming in with 20 minutes left because you think you need more time in the chair, but when you stand up, your legs are super stiff and it takes you 15 minutes in the next hour to get warmed up, it's not worth spending that extra energy out on the course to sit in the chair for longer only to get stiff legs, right? Figure out that balance. You may discover that you're wasting mental energy searching for things. Do you need a crew? Do you need better organization? Do you need a checklist? I love checklists. I love spreadsheets. Figure those things out. All of those discoveries matter. And you can do them before race day. You can do them in a backyard long run simulation. Backyard ultras reward efficiency. Practice becoming boringly efficient. Some runners will even go as far as setting up their tent, setting up their chair, their table, having everything set up as if it were race day so they can practice efficiency in their tent environment. Then they can figure out, like, is this actually set up how I want it to be set up? How are things going to run? Where's my crew going to be? Do what you need to build routine and familiarity. Now you're probably asking, but how many hours should I actually run for? How long should my backyard simulation be? And we're going to go back to the beginning of the episode and we're going to say it depends. And this depends on your goals. It depends on your current fitness level. It depends on your training, where you're at in your training. If you've never ran a backyard ultra, maybe start with 3 or 4 yards just to figure out the pacing and the transition time. A lot of runners get nervous about not having enough time out on the course if they've never actually practiced the pacing strategy. And they go out there and like, oh, holy crap, I did that in 45 minutes. I can definitely slow down more, or I can walk more. Just get out there and figure out what it actually feels like. Then evaluate and maybe do 6 yards for another long run. Like, I wouldn't do it the following week, but you don't also have to go from 0 to 20 hours. If you've done a backyard ultra before, maybe 12 hours is your answer. But you might also need to consider more aspects, right? So time of day. When have you ran into problems in past races? Do you need to learn how to work through the night? Pacing in the night. Like, what does your pacing do at night? Where does your mind go at night? Do you need a hot day? Do you need merely time on feet? Like, this is where, again, your goals, your fitness level, and your coach can help you. So it's going to depend. Long run number 4 is the sunset to sunrise run. So I just want to emphasize that I don't encourage my athletes to sacrifice sleep. Sleep is your number 1 recovery tool, However, if you've struggled with nights in the past and you have the opportunity to get enough sleep before and after this run may be for you. So running through the night is different, right? Like running through the night during a backyard ultra, during an ultra in general, is different than running in the dark. Running through the night for a backyard ultra is also different than an ultra, because in an ultra you can slow down, right? As long as you're not chasing those cutoffs. But in a backyard ultra, you have to keep pace because you have to finish those 4.167 miles in 1 hour. We run in the dark every morning for up here 9 months of the year. I'm used to running in the dark, but it's very different than running through the entire night after you've already been running for 12, 14, 16 hours, depending on when the race started, when you're tired, when you're going on night 2 without sleep, etc. The night changes everything. Distances feel longer, small problems feel bigger, fatigue feels heavier, simple tasks require more focus. This run allows you to experience those changes in a controlled environment. So what I would do is, again, if you have the opportunity to bank sleep, which you can't really do, but get enough sleep before and after this run, start before sunset. So start in the light, stay out long enough to experience sunset, the darkness, cooling temperatures, mental fatigue, sleepiness, isolation, and the sunrise. Like run through sunrise. Figure out your light setup. Do you need a weight light? Is your light bright enough? What's your battery life like? Figure out all these things. What about pacing? Are you keeping your pace? Do you slow down when it gets darker? We tend to, especially when we're trail running, we tend to feel like we're running a lot faster than we actually are in the dark when we have trees on either side of us. So do you need to be aware of being intentional about pushing the pace a little bit of like, okay, I already feel like I'm running fast, but I'm actually not. So I need to actually push a little bit. And then most importantly, what is your mind doing? The biggest lesson isn't physical, it's emotional. You're going to learn that darkness is not permanent. You want to teach yourself that sunrise always comes. And if you experience that transition in training, you're going to trust it during the race. So on that same note, if you have ran races before, if you've done backyard ultras before where you have not survived the night, if you've not made it to sunrise and you've lost trust with yourself, that's part of your wall is quitting at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. before sunset, practice running through sunset in your training. Number 5 is the after work long run. This is one of the most underrated workouts in backyard training. I like to encourage athletes to, if you don't have it, if you regret running at a certain time of day, you should probably do it more often for the backyard because you need to get used to running when you don't want to run. Running after work, running in the evening is also a good opportunity to run when you're tired, run when you don't want to do anything. You just want to relax and go to bed. So if you think about like most people are doing their long runs in the morning after you've had a full night's sleep, after fresh legs, after maybe you're banking on good weather, you have plenty of time to get your long run in. That's not the case with the backyard ultra, right? Like at some point you're going to be awake for 18 hours, 30 hours. You're going to have made dozens and dozens of decisions, both little and big. There's going to be a roller coaster of emotions, mental exhaustion. So occasionally starting a long run after a full day might be a very good training simulation, right? Learn what effort feels like when your tank isn't completely full, because you're going to experience that in a backyard ultra. Run number 6 is similar to our last 2. It's the time of day challenge. So again, a lot of runners know when their demons are going to show up. They know when their mind starts to trick them into making excuses, quitting. A lot of runners, it's around that 2 to 4 a.m. mark. Sometimes runners will struggle with mid-afternoon, that afternoon slump, feeling tired, not wanting to do a lot, needing a break. Figure this out because those difficult hours become monsters because we keep telling ourselves stories about them. Like stop saying, I always struggle at 3 a.m. I can't function overnight. I can't go without sleep. I always fade after sunrise. Challenge those assumptions. Schedule a run during that exact window, okay? Then collect evidence that contradicts your theory, the story that you've always been telling yourself. Every successful experience weakens fear. So build that confidence, okay? The successful experience builds confidence. You build confidence with action. Now, the next two, long runs 7 and 8, are two of my favorite. The first one is the Goggins challenge, the 4x4x48. This is not about mileage. This is about showing up again and again and again. The hardest part isn't the running. It's getting comfortable and then choosing discomfort. It's falling asleep and then having to wake up to run again. It's relaxing and then having to get up again. It's being used to running in the morning and showering and going on with your day, but then having to run again in 4 hours. The cycle teaches something incredibly valuable. It's the ability to repeatedly restart. And this is what a backyard ultra requires every single hour. Last man standing race, you might be doing 20-minute loops, 30-minute loops. It all depends on the format, but it's requiring a restart after every loop. And the other long run that's similar is the Yeti challenge. It's 5 miles every 4 hours for 24 hours. So this one is, although you are sacrificing a little bit of sleep, same with the Goggins challenge, go back to sleep, get sleep in between those things. Either relax in between your runs during the day or make a list of things that you need to get done and be productive. Like those have been some of my most productive days, but I also prioritize that sleep in between the runs. Same with the Yeti challenge. So like you can still get sleep in there, but you're also teaching yourself to run tired because at some point you're going to be running between the 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. window. This one is less intimidating than backyard simulation. It's also less intimidating than the Goggins challenge. Maybe you start with this if you're hesitant about the Goggins challenge, but it still teaches you a lot of the same lessons. Like you're learning to continue to eat around the clock. That's something that the backyard ultra demands. You're learning how your body responds to interrupted sleep or lack of sleep. You're learning how difficult it is to restart, or maybe at what point it's difficult to restart, or what time of day it's difficult to get out for a run. You're learning what recovery strategies actually work. And the gaps between the runs become part of the challenge, right? And that's where it becomes valuable. Both of these runs can also be very fun. Some people have also made up other challenges where they're running 1 mile every hour for 24 hours. Like the point of these runs is to teach yourself to keep going. One more, and to really just focus on the run that you're doing right now. Number 9 is the adversity run. This is similar to picking out the time of day that you have demons that you don't want to run, that you struggle with. It can be similar to if you're just really a morning runner and you're like, there's no way that I can run in the afternoon or the evening. This is an adversity run. But when it comes to this run in specific, don't just avoid bad conditions, like seek them out. Not every week, not recklessly, but intentionally. So this is one of the reasons why I became a winter runner. Was I live in Minnesota, like halfway up the state on the west side. And our winters get extreme. We can have winter in October. We can have winter in April. But January, February, December, February, they can be 30, 40, 50 below. Blizzard conditions. It can be sunny out and be 50 below. It can be very deceiving. But for my mental health, I want to be outside. I need to move. So I became a winter runner to learn how to continue to progress in running, right? Instead of stopping every winter. Now, again, I'm not saying you can't be a treadmill runner. Treadmills are an incredible tool, but seeking out adversity, running through the winter, choosing to do something hard is very valuable when it comes to doing hard things in life and in endurance sports. So seek out, stay safe, but you may be like, oh my gosh, it's going to rain all day today or on Saturday. I'm going to do my long run on Saturday instead of Sundays when I usually do them. Or if you're listening to this in the winter and you're like, it's going to snow 6 inches on Saturday, I'm going to start my run and I'm going to do my run when it's snowing out. If that seems hard to you. So when it's raining, when it's windy, when it's cold, when the trail is muddy, pick those hard moments for you and go out and do it. Learn how your gear performs. Like, do you need a better rain jacket when it's not comfortable to be running in the rain for 12 hours? My last backyard ultra, we were running in the rain from it was like 3 or 4, or no, it was hour 4 until the very end, hour 16. Like, not fun, but it also was around 50 degrees, so it wasn't the end of the world. The rain jacket was just fine. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. Learn how your mindset responds to the adversity that you're running through. Like, what are you telling yourself? Learn what problems arise. What foot issues do you have when they're constantly wet? Like, master your foot cure technique. The goal isn't toughness for toughness' sake. The goal is to reduce uncertainty. The goal is to put yourself in as many positions as possible so that when anything and everything happens on race day, you've already experienced it. You've already run through miserable weather. Race day weather loses like some of its power, right? Like if you look at the weather and it says, hey, it's gonna rain for the entire race, like whoop-de-doo, I've already done that. It loses some of its power. Confidence comes from knowing that you can solve problems, not from believing nothing bad will happen. Like, anything can happen on race day. The race does not owe you anything, right? Long run number 10 is the curiosity run. So, I don't know. I really like this one. You're not going to have any expectations. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not chasing mileage. It is purely out of being curious and observing. So pay attention to thoughts, emotions, energy shifts, hunger cues, motivational changes, physical sensations. Most runners are going to judge everything. Few actually study themselves. So remove the judgments and observe. The best backyard runners become experts on their own patterns. They know what happens at hour 6. They know what happens at hour 12. They know what happens when they get bored. They know what happens when palate fatigue becomes a problem. They know that knowledge becomes an advantage. So there are a few other long runs that I just want to mention. Getting bored doing a looped run is a very good practice long run for a backyard ultra or last man standing race. Go out, like if you have a 24-mile long run on your schedule, you're supposed to be out there for 5 hours, run the same loop over and over and over again and practice what your mind does. Back-to-back long runs are also valuable. Some people like them, some don't. Some people adapt to back-to-back long runs. Some people, it's just way too stressful. It's going to depend on who you are. And the last one that I want to mention is, like, yes, there's lots of different long run workouts that you can do, but this one is one of my favorites. It's kind of like a fast finish long run. You can call it dropping the hammer. But it's not practiced as widely as I think it should be. Finishing strong when you desperately want an excuse not to. It's setting up a long run where maybe your final hour has purpose with a cool down, of course. Maybe you're doing the last 4 miles or 45 minutes of your long run with a harder effort. Maybe you intentionally leave yourself slightly behind on schedule, so you have to pick it up in order to get home and shower and go to whatever activity you need to be at. Maybe you finish with a hard climb, a hill repeats at the end, heck. Maybe you finish with, maybe you're out for a 20-mile long run and your brain is already starting to negotiate with you of like, okay, 3 more miles, 2 more miles, 1 more mile. Do another loop. Do a couple more miles just to tell yourself like, hey, brain, you are not deciding when we're done. We need to push 1 more. We need to show ourselves that we can keep going when we don't want to. It's not about speed. It's about being honest with yourself, developing trust in yourself, and learning to push more when you're cutting it close. When your brain is looking for an out. Like when your brain is starting to say like, hey, maybe you should slow down so you can miss the cutoff and you can be done. Practice those things on your long runs in the last hour when you want to be done. Like, nope, we're doing another mile because we can. Practice making the decision for yourself. Practice saying, not today. Practice finding another gear. Practice attacking the finish. Practice proving that when it's time to move, you can actually move. Sometimes the difference between another yard and a DNF isn't fitness, right? A lot of times it's mental. A lot of times it's your mind giving up before your body's actually done, and it's your brain looking for an out. So practice that. So again, there are lots of different long runs that you can do in your backyard ultra training, but some of my favorites are the backyard simulation. I think that's a must for everyone. Length is going to depend on what you're kind of looking to practice and what your fitness level is like and what your goals are like. If your goal is to hit 50K in the backyard, you don't need to go out and do a 12-hour simulation. That's overkill for your training. If you're looking to run 36 plus hours in the backyard, 12-hour simulation, 14-hour simulation, like that might just be up your alley. Running at different times of day, running through the night, or starting super early in the morning, tackling the sunrise if you haven't actually ran through sunrise, and the Goggins and the Yeti challenges, or running 1 mile every hour, or coming up with some kind of looped course that you run over and over again or on a set schedule. They're all very valuable, but remember, you need to figure out, like, what am I actually looking to get out of this run, out of this challenge? And most importantly, please, please, please be careful when you're planning your long runs into your training. If a long run takes you out for a week, it's not worth it. Don't sacrifice consistent training in order to do a big crazy thing. Recovering and adapting to the training is the most important thing. Every long run should answer a question, right? Every long run should teach you a lesson about fueling, about sleep and staying awake, about problem solving, about handling boredom and your mind. Can you run through the night? Can you restart? Can you trust yourself? Can you handle the logistics? What happens when things don't go well? How do you react? Mileage is only one adaptation. Do not get me wrong. You still need to have a solid foundation, but experience is another. Your goal isn't to be fearless on race day. Your goal is to have answered so many questions in training that very few remain. That's confidence. That's preparation. The runners who go the furthest don't necessarily have the longest long run. They have the biggest library of experiences. When something happens on yard 27, they've already met that version of themselves. They've already problem solved for a similar situation. They say, I've been here before. I know what to do. I know how to problem solve. And that's how runners find themselves saying 1 more hour, long after anyone experienced them to go. So don't ask yourself, how long should my next long run be? Ask yourself, what experience am I missing before race day? Then design your next long run around that answer. Again, not every long run has to be one of these, but it adds experience. It helps you problem solve and figure things out. Thank you so much for listening. If you have questions about long runs, or you want to share what your favorite long run is while training for a backyard ultra or a last person standing race, please reach out. Let me know. I'd love to share it with everyone. But until next time, just go 1 more hour. Thanks for tuning in to 1 More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard. And share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going 1 more. Connect with me on Instagram at the 1 More Hour podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go 1 more hour.